Hello, my friends. Katie from Voice of Moxie here. And today I want to talk about something that hits very close to home for me. And it is about high control religion and how it corrodes a woman's sense of self. Maybe are questioning the religion, maybe questioning Christianity, or maybe you're a woman who has left the system. You're deconstructing and you feel like you've lost your sense of self. You don't trust yourself. And you're trying to regain a sense of who you are, your true identity, to trust your voice again. I would have never thought that I was a part of high control religion. It sounds like way out there. It sounds like it would look like overt brainwashing, but it's not like that. I never would have thought that. I have the personal experience of going into the church as a teenager and exiting the church as a midlife woman and seeing the damage that it did to my inner world and the healing and the work I've done to regain my sense of self-trust, regain my inner world. And what I love to do is be able to put language to the experiences we've had as women, because language shapes our reality. And when we understand and we have words to see, it helps us to get a hold of the wounds within us and to be able to release by naming, stating, and allowing what needs to come up. We give it space to release, and we get to decide the language and the beliefs that we carry going forward. My deepest mission in my work is to help women who've experienced spiritual trauma or trauma from systems, anything related to patriarchy. And high control religion runs off of a very high controlling hierarchy. And that really puts women in a position where systematically she's controlled and tactics are used to keep her in her place. For those of you who don't know my story, I gave my heart to Jesus at 16. And I was coming out of a very traumatic, dysfunctional family where I was seeking help, seeking love, approval. My parents loved me, but they had alcoholism and a lot of issues. It was just really hard. And I was desperate to be seen, to be known, to be loved. And I was drawn by the man of Jesus. That was really what I saw, was Jesus. And what drew me was the idea of how he related to people, women, the world. He wasn't bending to fit in. And initially, this is really what drew me. What I found after becoming a part of the church was that the church uses Jesus to pull people in to this system of control. Jesus's message about the kingdom is within us and we are powerful and we will do greater things, that didn't align with what the church was teaching. And that became such a confusing dichotomy for me over the years, because I thought, well, this must be what Jesus was. This must be what Jesus wants for me, because I heard it over and over. And I didn't begin to crack and question until I hit 40. And a lot of things came to light in my marriage. And I went seeking help at the church. And there's where it really started to go downhill. But I didn't yet have language to understand what was happening in my body. What was happening in my body was such a form of rage that I needed to sit with, and I couldn't ignore anymore. See, I'd had a lot of anger for many years, but the church as a whole, the system, continued to push it down, repress it, tell me it was a problem, it was wrong, it was my lack of faith, it was my character, it was my own dysfunction, it was my own sin that I had this anger. And it wasn't until so many things started to come at me where I really couldn't ignore it. And I started to question, why am I so angry? No one is validating what's going on. So when many people hear high control religion, I think we see all over the news. We might think of the Duggars. We might think of some charismatic leader cult compound that's overtly brainwashing people. And I would have probably said that 2 years ago, but it's not. It's not even necessarily visible. It's systematically teaching people that they can't trust their bodies, especially women. It's teaching them to override their inner signals, to always be outsourcing authority to somebody who knows better than them. And what it does is the teaching over time, year after year, it teaches a woman that I don't know what's best for me. The things I desire are problems. So I need to push them away, listen to outside authorities, and just trust that this God that designed me to follow knows what's best for me. And it's going to come to me through the man or the men or the pastors that are put in authority over me. So the more I comply, the more I submit, I suppress what's inside of me, my emotions, because women are taught, we're all taught in the church that our hearts are deceptive. We can't trust ourselves. We have to trust the people that God put over us. And we have to trust that God created this umbrella where God is the head of man is the head of woman, and that's just the way it is. It teaches women to ignore everything that's happening inside of her body. People are taught to trust all sources outside of the church. Any kind of modern science, any neuroscience, psychology, anything that would make her question the authority structures in the church that tell her this is how you are supposed to be. Secular psychology is considered worldly and it's othered. Anything that's not church authority is othered. Feminism is the ultimate deception. That's what I saw in this article today. I saw a woman, she was posting about how women were designed to have babies. And it characterizes a woman who doesn't trust God with her womb as selfish. The undertones of a woman who won't just have the maximum amount of babies that her body can biologically produce is selfish. And I witnessed this personally in myself and in my churches over the years. I was around women, and many of them kind, loving, well meaning women. And so that is the kind of shame based language that is used in high control religion to keep women drowning when her literal nervous system is just so frazzled, she has no peace in her body. That's framed as something's wrong with her rather than a woman being able to seek tools to regulate her nervous system, to listen to what her needs are. A woman in the church is taught that her needs are essentially weak character. And there's this insidiously it comes out positive, but it's a shame-based language that is used to corrode a woman over time. What this did to me was I internalized all of the shame. And the way that churches use this to control women is it uses an us versus them framing. If you think like that, you're not faithful. If you question if you should stop having children, you're not trusting. And what is the ultimate praised woman in the church? A submissive, quiet, homemaking woman who doesn't complain, who who is like so self-sacrificing that she's basically invisible because she's a yes girl. And she polices herself. She polices herself so badly that she has no room to love herself, to honor her pleasures. And so what happens over time is a woman just feels numb. She doesn't even have language anymore to say what's going on in her body because she's been taught to stop listening to her body. And that is exactly what happened to me. I had an inner voice. I had heard my intuition for many years, but every time I tried to voice it, I was told, no, that's just you not trusting. You're doubting. When a woman asks questions in a high control church, she's labeled. She's labeled as rebellious. She's labeled as non-compliant, a Jezebel spirit. These are all forms of spiritual bypass and gaslighting. And I want to name these things because the church won't, and I didn't have language for them. And I was desperate to know what was happening in my body. I have 20 journals over the course of 15 years, full of prayers, pleading for healing, pleading to understand, God, make my anger go away. Show me where my sin is so I won't be angry anymore. What's the root of my anger and my sin? My anger was always framed as sin because I was told that I had a problem. But what my body was signaling to me for so many years was harm. It was injustice. It was control. I had, over time, lost my sense of autonomy and agency and ability to be self-led by my inner knowing. And what I know now is that your intuition can be trusted. Your inner knowing will guide you. And so if you're a woman who feels this loss of yourself, you feel like, why can't I trust myself? Why don't I know? It's because you have been for so long outsourcing who gets to be the final voice. And in these high control systems, it's authority that's a man that's told you have to be a very specific thing, that you don't get to honor yourself and your world and your voice and your knowing and your desires and your pleasures and your power. You have no power. You'll only be praised if you do, say, and be what they want you to be. And here's the darkest part of it. Scripture is seen as the ultimate authority. So if you question this role, you question that you can lead or speak. I knew that I was meant to lead and to speak and to share. I was taught that the curse was that a woman would want to have control. And this is where it all starts. The lie that a woman is easily deceived, it sets the stage to always keep her controlled. So over time, I became more and more silent, more and more invisible. I questioned myself. I questioned everything I thought, said, and believed about myself. And a spiritual bypassing and the spiritual gaslighting is so powerful. Spiritual bypassing, it feels so positive. It sounds like, oh, maybe you should pray about that. That sounds like a character problem. Everything is moralized. It teaches women to stay in harmful and abusive dynamics, and that her role is to submit, to unconditionally respect him, and that if there's issues going on, it's always telling her that she's the problem, her character, her behavior, that she's not submitting enough, that she's not honoring him enough, that she's not giving him sex like she should be, that if she would just, then he would give her what she needs. Or that she shouldn't expect things from him. She should be looking to God to meet all of her needs, and that this is her holy sacrifice. The church would rather make it look at We Save Marriages at her expense. And I found that to be true. When I went for counseling, that's when my real awakening began. That's when the real deconstruction journey really shifted into high gear for me. The spiritual bypassing and the gaslighting was so heavy, my spirit couldn't ignore it anymore. I was told that the feelings I was having were disproportionate to the situation. And when she spoke those words to me, something in my mind and my spirit began to awaken. Something loud came from me, inside of me, and it said, she's wrong. She's wrong. And for the first time in years, I heard something so clear coming out of me that I couldn't ignore. It was the inner voice, and it brought me peace. And it told me, walk out of here. Walk out of here. This is oppression. These are control tactics. This is gaslighting. So many women experience having difficult marriages. I'm not talking about normal hard marriages. I'm talking about toxic things going on in their relationships, abusive dynamics, gaslighting, psychologically damaging things that are not part of normal marriages. And women go for help at the church because they're taught that they don't want worldly resources. And what they're told over and over is that you just need to give him more sex. You need to be kinder. You need to respect him more. And what I see in the church with men is they are taught to feel entitled from a very young age. They are taught to feel enabled in their behaviors. The things I heard the pastor say at one of the churches was men are essentially like 6-year-old boys in men's bodies. But he is taught that he's in control, he's the authority, and he gets to be the final decision maker. But what most women know is in the day to day, she's the one handling the brunt of all the mental labor. I thought I carry so much vision. I make so many leadership decisions, but yet I'm told over and over and over that I'm not allowed to lead, that God didn't make women to lead. God made women to submit and to silently follow. So the spiritual bypassing and the gaslighting, what it does, and it's the same with any kind of gaslighting, it makes you question yourself. It turns the problem on back onto you, where you start to say, maybe it's me. Maybe I am the problem. Maybe I just need to fix myself. Maybe I'm broken. And what high control systems do is they say, yeah, yes, you are the broken one. If you weren't broken, this would all work out fine. You would feel peace. You would feel fulfillment. You would fit in here nicely and everything. Look at that woman. Look at how her life is. If you did it all right, if you were more submissive, you prayed more, you were more faithful, you were more spiritually mature, a good, faithful, holy, self sacrificing woman, your life would look like that. But what women don't know, because they're taught to be silent about it, is that those women are also dealing with the very same things. But women are taught that gossiping is such a sin, to never talk about what's happening because it's framed as a sin. So you can see how women are systematically isolated, chronically taught to distrust herself. So she just learns to become her own inner captor. And that's what I did. I became my own worst enemy. I shamed myself. I loathed myself. I pleaded to Jesus, God, what's wrong with me? I'm trying to sacrifice. I'm trying to lay down my anger, but none of it goes away because I was taught to bypass my own body, my own nervous system. And even like meditation and breath work and biological tools that have been given to us to regulate our nervous system, to bring our bodies into a parasympathetic state of peace. The church, high control systems teach that's demonic. So you can see how women are almost trained to live in this survival state. Because you know what happens when a woman stays in a dysregulated nervous system state? Survival. She's highly controllable. Because when we're in survival, we're very reactionary. We're looking outward for some sense of peace. I have been out of this system now for almost 4 years. And I will tell you, I have never had more peace in my body than when I have learned to regulate my nervous system, bring my body into a state of peace and calm, and be able to think clearly about my desires, my pleasure, and I have taken back my agency, my autonomy. And I learned and am learning every day how to trust my intuition. This is what patriarchy does. This is what high control religions do. It teaches you to repress that intuitive voice that tell you it's wrong, that that's not logic, that you can't be trusted. Women are emotional, all the things we know women are told. But when I've learned to trust my intuition like fact, it's never been wrong because I know now that the divine power, call it God, source, universe, whatever women, whatever you prefer to call it. And it took me a long time to even say anything divine. But I know now that the power within me that I was taught to distrust was the divine power. I learned that I never needed anything outside. I never needed to outsource to some authority or some male sky patriarchal God that was man made. The divine power, the wisdom, the sacred wisdom, it was always within me. And this is the very thing high control religions, they steal from women. It erodes her ability to trust her voice. And it has been the most beautiful journey back to listening and to follow it. And I know that there are good people in church. There are well-meaning women. And that's the thing. Outwardly, many of these women believe that they are doing what's best. And they are acting out of a place of wanting to be loved, wanting to do what's right. And that's what gets me the most about this is that it takes women and they become the product. So I want to speak to you if you feel a lot of anger, or maybe you feel numb, or maybe you're just confused and you're just out of all of it and you're done with these high control systems and you see things, but you don't know where to go. What we do is we start by honoring our body, honoring what it was always speaking to us, honoring the rage and the anger. So I want to take you through something now. This is called the Ho'onopono prayer or mantra. And it's an ancient Hawaiian practice that's been used as a form of reconciliation, forgiveness, healing. And I came upon this when I was in the beginning of my healing journey, really at the beginning of my real spiritual awakening. Because our key here in coming out of these systems is learning to reconnect with our body, learning to have a positive relationship with our own power, with our own pleasures, and the purposes that we're here for. It's ending the objectification of our feminine role and fully owning all of us. This practice of Ho'onopono is a way of coming back into your body, of forgiving, of accepting, of healing the parts of you that have been unheard and need a voice. This is really about taking 100% responsibility for your inner world, taking full agency, ownership, and leadership over you, the kind of woman you are, the power that you carry, and where you want to lead. Repeating these phrases can clear a lot of the subconscious imprints left from these high control structures, because that's what trauma is. It imprints our body to feel shame, to feel negative when we have desires, when we want to be ourselves. And so, what this practice can do is foster a real profound sense of self-love, peace, and inner freedom. And that's what we learned to suppress, was our love for ourselves, our love for our humanity. So the prayer goes like this: I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. So, what I'm sorry does is it acknowledges the negative energies or the ways that we were complicit in giving away our power. So, what I like to think of it as, I'm telling the inner child part of me that I'm sorry, that I ignored her, that I allowed the outside voices to be stronger and to suppress what she needed to say and how she needed to be heard. Please forgive me is asking forgiveness from myself, for the parts of me that I gave away, that I silenced. Thank you is my way of expressing gratitude to the parts of me that were always fighting for me. The voice within me that was always speaking and never gave up on me. And you, there's the voice within you that she's never giving up on you. She's always there. She always holds your potential power, and she's always waiting for you to return to her and to trust her. And I love you reconnects you to the divine within you, the power that was always within. And this helps you to foster a sense of self-love, of worthiness, inherent worthiness, and to know that you can rebuild that relationship with yourself. So what I like to do is I like to often put on music and I sit and I place my hand over my heart and I repeat the phrases until I feel like I'm ready to move on. Just a few times in the morning or any time where I'm feeling like I am shaming or I'm in fear or I'm sensing something needs to come up within me. And simple practices like this, they really will help you start to become aware of your inner voice again. What happens over time is we rebuild our connection with ourselves. And there's nothing more powerful that will guide your life when you really start to trust yourself again. And you are good. And you don't have to prove to the world that you're good. What you need to be is true to you because you belong to you. And you are the highest authority on your life. I love you. Keep going.